what is this magic called utility classes? Well, first off, to enable utility classes, you need to add them via the features option inside site styles. So once you add them, you can then use them. Now, I do have to be fair. They are baked into edit mode, so you can use utility classes in edit mode, but they will not preview or publish unless you add this utilities class stack. So yeah, a lot of people just immediately add it to site styles whenever they use it because the utility classes are pretty awesome. Now, what are utility classes? It's essentially a bunch of pre-baked classes that you can add to a whole bunch of stuff. And once you learn them, you might be using less swatches as well. So let's see what they are. What can we know about what utility classes there are? There is a classes stack you can use. And the only purpose of the stack is to document all of the various utility classes that we can use. Now, when you add the classes stack, you'll see that there are a small number of classes here. Well, there's still quite a bit, but these are actually available out of the box, even if you don't add the utility class. Okay, so I'm not gonna demo all of these because there's so many classes. So I'm just gonna give a brief overview about them. Okay, and please go ahead and play with them, see what they do, and get to learn and know them. Okay, first off, we have classes for H1 through H6. Okay, so those are their actual class names. So H1, H2, H3, and these are if you want to style text like your H1 or like your H2. So let's say you have an H3 on your page. For SEO reasons, you want it to be an H3, but for style reasons, you want it to look like you styled your H2s. Well, all you have to do is put an H2 class in there and you're good to go, right? These are super useful and they're going to be great. Okay, next is we have a lead paragraph. This allows you, if you have if you use the header stack and set it to paragraph, put lead in there. Actually, I think there might be a setting for this. But if you put lead, essentially what that does is it will kind of make that text a little bit more, a little bit larger, kind of like it'll be the lead paragraph, kind of like in typography. Okay. Then we have no bullet lists. We have a stats class to kind of make things look a little bit bigger and whatnot. So look like stats. We can truncate text. We can affect how text is wrapped. So we can say text no wrap or wrap. We have some content alignment, so like text alignment and content alignment. So text align left, center, right, medium text left, medium text or large text left, center, right, blah, blah, blah. Okay. We have a bunch of visibility classes. These are all the classes that also come in all the visibility settings that you see throughout all of Foundation 6. These are the same exact classes that setting uses. Okay. But maybe you want to use these in a stack that doesn't have that baked in. Okay, so there are classes you can just add this to the classes and it'll hide or show the stack when you want it to. Next is float classes. These are really useful if you want to float stuff. There is a template, an example that shows you how you can use this to float images within text. So yeah, these float classes are really useful for stuff like that. Now, if you want to use the utility classes, this classes stack has a setting called Show Utility Classes. Now let's turn that on. So when we turn that on, you'll see that there are a lot more classes. Okay, a lot more. So first off, we have a bunch of stuff for lists. So we can do unordered list styling. A lot of these there's actually list styling baked into site styles. But if you want to do some one-off stuff, that's some good utility classes. This is a very useful one for component styling. So you're adding radius and rounded and shadow and bordered stuff, right? So these are kind of useful for one-off quick little classes, especially radius and rounded. I use those a lot. We have font styling. So you can do font normal, font bold, font italic, font wide, which makes it a little bit wider. It increases the text distance. Okay. We have some text transforms. So we can do text uppercase. That forces the text to always be uppercase. Text lowercase obviously forces it to be all lowercase and capitalized, forces sentence case, right? Or capitalized case. So the first letter is always going to be capitalized. We can do some text decoration. So text underline, text overline, and text line through. And then we have margin classes. So margin is quite complex. This is a system of classes, and I'm going to skip this. We're going to show you some examples of this later, but there's a lot of possibilities here. Okay. Essentially, there are all these sizes available, and you can do it for top, bottom, left, right. You can have specific margins for medium, small. You can do negative margins, all kinds of stuff. Okay. We have padding helpers, very similar to the margin. There's lots of options here. Width. Okay. There's tons of different sizes available here. And then you could just do W colon and then your size, right? So we'll look at some of that. We have some Z-index helpers. So here you just here's all the possible Z-index values. You can just set it to Z colon and then one of these values, okay? Or you can do Z max, and that just puts it to the maximum possible Z-index value, okay? So if you really want to make sure it's the highest possible Z-index value, you can use Z max. We have a bunch of new height settings, okay? So all these allow you to do either static heights or percentage heights of the browser window, okay? We have some border box stuff, some display classes. So if we want to do, sometimes these are useful if you know what display inline is or display block, display table. These are kind of come in handy sometimes, okay? Border none is a good useful thing if you just want to axe the border on something really quick. So that's just nix the border on anything. Just say border none on that. Positioning, this is important, especially if you want to do like position relative. Sometimes the position swatch, it might not necessarily position relative to parent to something you'd think of. So you could always throw in the position relative on something if you really want to ensure the position swatch is actually being positioned relative to that element. Okay. Then we have some overflow stuff, and then we have some color stuff at the end. So here we have background color utility classes. So we could do like BG white, BG black, BG secondary, BG primary. So you can really add some really quick background colors to stuff. And these use all of the colors that are defined inside site styles. Okay. And next up is text colors. You can do color colon. Then you have white, black, medium gray, dark gray, primary, header, text, link color, right? So all these affect the text color of things. And you can always uses the colors that are defined inside site styles as well. Okay, so right now we're going to look at how we can do some of those margin swatches. And luckily, a lot of these more complex class settings, such as margins, paddings, width, and height, have a very similar syntax. So let's look at that. First off, if we just do M colon, and then one of the values that's defined inside the margin, right? Let's do like 32. Okay. That will put a margin on all sides of an element of 32 pixels. Now we can target the top, bottom, left, and right as well. So if we just want to target the bottom, we could do MB colon 32. Now, a common thing is, a lot of times we want to remove the bottom margin on something. Well, that's easy. You just do MB colon 0, and that will remove the bottom margin on something. And actually, you can combine these. So if you were to do these, M colon 32 and MB colon 0, that will mean that the left, right, and top margins will be 32, but the bottom margin will be 0. Cool. Okay, now, as I said, we could do MT for top. So we could do top margin. We could do MR colon for right margin, for margin right, and you can enter in one of those values. And then you could do ML for margin left. Do that as a 32. Cool. Okay, now what else can we do? We can also do MX. This is kind of a shorthand. So we could do MX colon 32. Okay, now substitute 32 for any value again. And this is just a shorthand for doing left and right margin. Okay, and then you could do MY colon 32. And that is the same thing as saying top and bottom margin. Okay. Now, there are also the ability to do negative margins. And I've done videos on how to use negative margins, and they're really cool. So, and that's really, really simple. You can use all of these, and all you have to need to do is put a dash in front. So essentially, it's the same exact syntax. If you want it to be a negative, you just put a dash in the front to make it a negative margin. Pretty simple. Now, there's one other thing that we can do, and it's possible with all these combinations. And I want to show you how we can do responsive margins on things. So if we supply just this class, it will apply to small, medium, and large. But let's say on medium, we want something different. So if we do MD colon, let's say 64, what will happen is on small, we will get 32 pixel margin. And then on medium, we will get 64 pixel margin. Now, this is possible. I'm sorry. Oh, MD. Oops, I got that colon. It's MD colon M colon 64. Almost messed that up. Okay. So it's MD colon, so medium, margin 64. And then if we wanted to do large, we could do LG colon M colon 96. Okay. Now this works for all of them. So if you could do MB in here for on medium margin bottom is 64 and on large margin top is 96. Okay. There's all the combinations of these options. So I know that was probably a lot, but as you can see, these are really, really powerful things, and it could potentially help you replace a lot of your swatches. Potentially. Now, padding is pretty much identically the same. So all the options that we have for margins, we also have for padding. So we could do padding 32. We could do padding top, right? Padding top 96 on large, okay? The only caveat with padding is you can't have negative padding like you can margin. So there are no negative options when it comes to padding. But we have all the same options, right? So you could do padding top 0, padding bottom 8, right? Padding right 32, and padding left 4, whatever. Oops, colon. So there's a lot of iterations, a lot of these utility classes, and it has all the iterations, the same iterations as margin minus the negative. Okay. Next up is width. Okay. So width, there's a lot of various options. First, you could do static width. So you could do W colon, all the various sizes. There are a couple of ones like full. That is with full. It always goes 100%. It's the full width. Okay. If you do W screen, this one's probably a little more esoteric. It actually makes whatever element the width of the browser window, not necessarily. That's different than with full, because with full will fill the container it's within. With screen will make it the width of the browser window, regardless of what it's inside. Okay. So that could cause some funky scenarios, but it's useful if you ever need that. And then you have all the various sizes, 32, 64, 256, all that stuff. Okay. So you have all those values to set static width of things. Okay. And we have the same exact media query stuff. So you could do medium width. And then, you could do 192, right? And then large width. Large colon W colon 256. Okay. Now, there are some other things. Now, what about percentage widths? Okay. So there are a bunch of fractions. Okay. Actually, let me go ahead and bring RapidWeaver back in. You'll see that we have a bunch of fraction options available as well. So we could do W colon 1/2, which is 1/2. You have thirds, fourths, fifths, sixths, tenths, and twelfths. Okay, that you can do. All the fractions inside of that you can do. So if we wanted it 50%, we could do W colon 1/2. Or if we wanted 2/3, you could do W colon 2/3. Okay, those are the actual class names that you will use. Okay, it's just the fraction. If you want something 80%, it's W colon 8/10. Okay, cool. Height has a very similar set, right? You just do H colon and then your static height. So you could do, 256 or whatever. And it has all the breakpoints as well. So you could do, MD colon H. Oops, man, I can't type today. MD colon H colon 192 and then large height, whatever, right? And then height also has a bunch of other values. So if we look at the height values here, you will see that we have 10 VH, 20 VH, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. We also have 25, 50, 75, 33, and 66. Okay, so basically we have tenths, fourths, and thirds of the browser window that we can do height on. So let's see an example of that. Maybe we want something to be a height of 75 VH. Okay, that VH stands for viewport height. Okay, if you're curious. So we can do 75 VH. And then maybe on medium, okay, we want it to be a little bit smaller. We want it to be 66. Oops. H colon 66 VH. And then on large, maybe we want a height of 50 VH. Okay, so this is kind of how you can use those for height. Okay, again, it's just H colon and then the value and then MD for margin or for medium colon height colon. So you see there is a standard syntax to these. And hopefully you'll learn it and it'll become second nature to you pretty soon. Now for the colors, it's pretty simple. You just do BG colon and then the color option that's available. Okay, so BG white, you do BG black, right? And then there's all the other color options available. And same thing for color. You do color primary, okay, or color excess, right? And again, background adds the background color, and the color changes the text color. And again, if we want to look at those classes again, we have all the colors are listed here, right inside the classes stack for background colors, and down here is the text colors. And again, these text colors are exactly what are defined inside site styles. Or they could potentially be, if you define a component swatch or a text color swatch, it could bring in those colors based on how you built your page.